Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 87 of Tales of Tamriel, a Dungeon Crawler Network production. I am your host, the terrific Templar, Aggelos, and with me this afternoon, we've got down below me, over here, Asteldian. Asteldian, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, actually, so good to be back.
Have you back? Now we're going to go back over to my other side over here, the guy up in the upper right hand corner. That would be Avi, the healing Breton Templar of amazingness. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good. The healer's here.
I know you've been having a lot of fun with that lately.
Oh man, it brought this game back for me.
Nice, nice. And possible future heir to the throne. Maybe it's kind of one of those whole British line of succession things. I don't know. He could be Prince. Nate, how are you?
I am very well, thank you, sir. Yes, I wasn't too close to the emperorship this month, but it was the first time that I felt that I'd finally grasped the heart of PvP in Cyrodiil, and I got pretty close.
Nice, nice, nice. How? Well, I know we'll probably talk about it a little bit with the notes later, but I wonder how close did you get?
Well, I know that I was the 13th. I think I was the 13th highest Dragon Knight in
Okay.
Azura Star and the EU server, and I think I was something like 120th in terms of total AP over the 30 days.
Okay, that's pretty
So
good.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really play PvP before about 6 weeks ago, so I feel like I've just given myself some very intensive learning, training, running with a lot of really good groups. So I've been learning a lot and doing pretty well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show again. We love having you, and we'll probably talk a little bit of lore later because we tend to do that every time you and I get together.
We do.
Yes, I can't wait. I didn't even plan any lore. This will just see what happens and what pops up. But let's go ahead and we're going to roll right into the episode, and we're going to talk about some news that happened around Tamriel this week. First off, as I catch another, wouldn't say great. There was some news, official, which I guess we won't say is official news. It's possible Cyrodiil changes. I'm gonna read. Brian Wheeler made a post on the forums this week involving Cyrodiil and PvP. One of the threads states, this is from Brian Wheeler himself. There are a few things in the patch update after Orsinium, that would be Thieves Guild, to address some quality of life issues for campaigns and Cyrodiil, as well as including some changes to ability logic and how abilities interact with physics processes. Back in there. Orsinium, Imperial City got a few fixes for ladder gankers. Not really sure what that is, but we'll
Me
talk about it.
neither.
Ladder gankers, I'm imagining what that is the people who sit in the sewers right underneath the district's entrances, because you know how when you go through the Imperial.
Yeah,
Oh, that
In
makes
IC,
sense.
yeah, that'll be what it is.
Yeah, that's got. When I first read, it, I was thinking like leaderboard ladders, but then
Yeah.
as I thought about it, and okay, makes
But
sense.
part of the problem with that though is that some of the district, like EP or AD, well, basically I don't know what I'm naming them, the factions, they all have kind of a home district, right?
Yeah.
So some of them, it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier to get your ass kicked, basically, in some of those.
Well, yeah, because it's easy. I'm not going to sit there and camp out under a district. Like, if I go in and I notice there's 100 AD, I'm going to go to their district and camp there and wait for the people up in the areas to go, okay, I have enough stones. Let's make our way back home through the district because, it pops out close to our entrance and we can run and bank. That
Yeah,
makes that.
I lost 800 stones the other day in one go.
Ooh, it's kind of rough.
Yeah, it felt amazing as you can imagine.
Mm.
Yeah, it's always fun.
If only you had 100 more stones and it got a solo kill, like that person would have got the one achievement for getting like 901 kill.
Is that it? Wow, yeah.
There is an achievement for like I don't remember. It's 100, 400, and then like 900 stones.
Oh, I got one of those then in that case. I got that, and I got one about getting a lifetime amount of some amount of stones collecting.
Yeah, yeah, up to like 10. I can't. Um, your request for capturable districts as well as gated access to Imperial City across the board has not fallen on deaf ears. However, there are no plans to change that at this time. Um, Speaking about capturable districts, they when they first announced Imperial City back in QuakeCon, I guess it was, they talked about the districts being capturable.
They talked about it in as much as you could only get into Imperial City if your alliance owned certain districts. Yeah.
I could have swore there was some sort of thing where they were talking about the way that I understood it was they were going to have capturable districts, but it might not have been about PvP so much as PvE, where you were able to push the Daedra back.
Oh, I see. Could be. Yeah.
The
That rings
way
a bell.
the way they described it made it feel more of an interactive type of experience where you're actively pushing the enemy back, and then if people aren't fighting in the districts, the enemies, in my mind's eye, when they first announced it, the way I had seen it was you would be able to clear out the district essentially, and merchants and things would return to the districts and things like that as long as you kept everything at bay.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
interesting.
that's how, if you go back and listen to the QuakeCon, that's how they kind of sold it, at least in my eyes. But as most MMO people know, things change. Whole ideas get scrapped when you realize they're not as feasible as they sounded. And it just became essentially a quest hub. Now they're fun quest hubs, but it wasn't quite the super interactive experience that I was expecting. Several things are currently getting worked on for campaign population. Number of campaigns offered needs to be finished before changing Imperial City rules across the board. Other discussions are still going on regarding town capture in Cyrodiil, more objectives slash flags for Cyrodiil, and improvements to what you can spend your AP on. A follow-up: campaign merging is hot on our plate, but we have to get some restrictions removed, as well as allow players to unassign themselves before we compress population again on PC. This will result in players having AD, DC, EP all assignable to the same campaign. However, getting population together is more important aspect. Um, oh my. It's the more important aspect to get the critical mass needed for Cyrodiil. Ditching the alliance restriction and allowing players to reassign slash unassign themselves with cooldown in combination with getting several abilities reworked to make less physics calls will allow us to condense campaigns. That being said, we are discussing merging more campaigns sooner than later, but we'd like to get these changes all together before doing so. I want to touch on this. Do you guys feel like he's talking about being able to reassign your faction? At least temporarily?
I was confused about that, but I don't think that's what he's talking about.
I don't know. The way they're talking about, see, I don't know. It condensing the campaigns. What's one of the major issues of campaigns? When you're on when your faction's fighting in one, it's you can't get into it, right? How does reassigning to a new campaign, especially when you lower the number of campaigns, going to actually help the population in balance? Without being able to go, World of Warcraft just recently did this with what they called mercenary mode for certain battles. Like when one side had a bunch, you'd be able to go into mercenary mode, going, let's just say EP and DC are full, okay? They're locked out. You'd be able to sign in, or you could sign in like it would go, okay, we'll put you in a queue, or you could sign up as mercenary mode and fight for the AD for this round.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've seen it done in other games. Rift did it as well, where you could just actually join different faction.
I mean, I personally would rather sit in a queue than ever side with the AD, but for some people that may be an option.
Yeah, me too. But at the same time, it doesn't really bother me thinking this gets put into the game.
See, I don't know if that's actually what they're talking about one way or the other.
It's hard to tell.
Nate, do you have any thoughts on that?
As long as things don't break lore, I'm generally happy with anything.
Okay.
Uh,
I
that
mean,
breaks lore all the way.
well, technically speaking, we already have multiple races.
A Nord sitting on the crown as the Aldmeri Dominion King of Cyrodiil is already breaking lore enough.
Yeah, but we have people who can play Nord. I mean, you're essentially allowed. They kind of broke lore with the any faction, any alliance type thing, which
Yeah.
I don't see that as broken law.
it depends how you take it. Do I find it as broken lore? Not really, because in Elder Scrolls it's always been go where. Even when you were playing Elder Scrolls 3, when it's about the Nerevarine, which is a reincarnated dark elf, essentially a Dunmer, you could play as any character. When in reality, like they kind of force you into it. They don't really force you, but they make a suggestion based on what they design the story around. Because when you boot up, this is interesting. When you boot up Morrowind, what's the first character race when they design it? It hovers over Dunmer. When you boot up Skyrim, it's Nord.
Nord. And same thing for Oblivion with Imperials.
Yep.
No, you're right, because just like in Skyrim, you can go to talk to Ulfric Stormcloak as a high elf, and he's like, oh, you can live in the nicest house we got and be my #1 general. And it's like, oh, I'm a high elf, but okay.
Against everything you stand for, but yeah, why not? Sure.
You're always going to get turncoats, aren't you? That's the reality of anything. So
Well,
I didn't
yeah.
see it law breaking. Admittedly, when it became sort of more mass readily available, I say that when it was pre-order, it sounded fine because then it was going to keep the races to a minimum, which is realistic. You know, no faction is going to truly have none of the other races in it. But then, of course, you could actually use various. Well, it went to the Crown Store, obviously, but even before then, you could actually pay $1 and get a pre-order code from whatever site. So it was a bit more readily available than originally planned with the idea of just pre-orders.
I think they did away with it altogether because I was at Walmart the other day just walking around and seeing the new Xbox One and PS4 copies, and all of them had that sticker on it that says includes any race, any alliance.
Yeah, I'm surprised they got that there because it's a Crown Store item now, and you can buy.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they'd leave the boxes with it on.
It's kind of funny. I don't know if they bought it early or what. Let's see. The last thing that I'm trying to find in here is AE caps, area of effect caps, and anything ability related. Robo and our Robo and the Combat Gang, they do look at the posts, polls, and watch streams as well. So they're talking about that. There is still something we're still actively discussing regarding town capture benefits and other flags in Cyrodiil. Would you guys be interested in type of almost like events to capture towns?
Like you can take over Bruma or Verville or something. That'd be awesome.
It'd be neat if they were time activated account. Like they weren't just a flag, not just another capture point. Because another capture point doesn't do much to me, right? It's just another flag.
So what would you get if they did that? Like, what's the benefit? Is it just points?
I would either say a flat rate point. Like, I'd say capturing it, you get your flag put on the wall. Now, the guards and everything are still what it is, so people quest and stuff. But it'd be a one-time event that people get points for, okay, for your faction, just a flat amount. I don't care. They can arbitrarily go about that number. As well as, I would say, a huge amount of, alliance points. Like, it'd be an active thing. But it needs to be sporadic. Like, it needs to be a random event that happens, like a call to arms, and it just appears on your map, kind of like the cross swords do when people fight. They just need to have, like, silver cross swords going, oh, the Battle of Bruma is now active. You need to have an algorithm that goes, it can happen once every 4 hours. And then have it in there, in any one of the towns. So at any one point, with that amount of towns, one would be going every hour, right? Like, or however many towns you do it, one every 6 hours, and then there will be at least one every hour. At least the law of averages would say so. So it's not a constant, but it's a thing that goes, oh my goodness, Bruma's up, let's go take it because it's worth a lot of alliance points, and it gets us a flat rate, like a bonus reward towards our overall faction score.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I just sort of feel like if they're going to introduce that, they should introduce something that's more than just the alliance points, because it feels like the incentive should be something bigger, like I don't know, a permanent increase to the number of alliance points you get. Like that's the case of scroll ownerships. You know, you get benefits depending on how many keeps or home keeps and things you own.
No, that makes sense. Like if you own the towns in your area, you gain some sort of percent bonus. Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah, because that's kind of what they do now. But I don't know. It sort of feels like I didn't like the Telvar Stone system to begin with because it just felt like yet another currency. So we've got gold, we've got AP, we've got Telvar Stones. But actually, the effect that it has on the intense feeling of the game is pretty big. Like you feel genuinely a bit nervous about turning corners in those sewers when you've got a load of Telvar Stones.
Yeah, you do.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Unless you don't care about the Telvar stones, like.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care about them, but I know that they're valuable to some people. I've never spent one.
Oh, okay. Not
But
one ever.
I will at some point. And that's what matters.
Well, it's the principle that you don't want to give anything away to others. So it's like, nah, so do you want to keep these?
Yeah,
So
this is
you
mine.
don't
Yeah,
wanna
but I
die.
can earn all the others without the risk. Like, I took your advice from last week's show about selling all your rubidite ingots and standard ruby ash and things. And I sold those for a buttload on the guild stores. And I just put my last batch on today at a slightly lower price just to make sure I get something good for them before Orsinium drops.
Yeah. I really do feel like Orsinium is going to adjust that price a lot just due to the fact that it's going to be more readily available and in a safer way.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. And if that's the case, then I owe you a beer. Because I was stacking them up to make all my V16 stuff. I'd recently made some V15 stuff and got those, up to purple level and enchanted them, but not using up all my kutas and all that kind of stuff, waiting. And I was going to do my greatsword. And then I heard the show and I thought, interesting idea. Put them on the guild store, and I did. And I probably made about 50,000 gold out of that. So,
Oh, nice.
I've
Very
made so far almost 500,000.
Damn.
I've made nothing, but
Almost
Yeah,
half
me
a
too.
million gold off of selling those items. Because they're still
that's
going
impressive.
for 450 to 500 here per item on the store.
Well, they're not going for that much where I sold them.
Oh yeah, no. On all our areas, it's still going for 400 to 500 gold per piece for the metal and for the cloth.
I was going to say, I've seen the smithing stuff going for 500 on some of our stores, but I'm sure you can get it cheaper.
And that seems to be about the average here on the U.S. Megas. Well, but I know for a fact that as soon as Orsinium comes out, it's going to affect the prices because people are going to be able to actually farm it without the RNG of. I mean, let's face it. The only way to get it now is either by spending Telvar stones, to buy the raw material, which is a total pain in the bum, or by getting the RNG chance of finding a rubidite item either from dungeons or from the sewers. Which, you can walk away with a couple, but that's still a good bit of time. And it's dangerous, at least for the stone portion. And getting 1 bar per item, like you may walk away with maybe 15 to 20 if you did a good sewers run. I don't know about you guys, but a good sewers run can take a couple minutes. I can farm more than that, plus get other stuff in a safer environment. Just, I don't know, it just feels more relaxing.
Well, the reality is you've got a lot of non-PvPers anyway. So
Yeah.
the minute they
Yeah.
use Orsinium, that's going to jump the market because they're all going to be doing their mining stuff. And they say a lot of people like to farm nodes. So even if not every node gives you your stuff, people are happy to run a circuit for an hour, 2 hours, just gathering and gathering. So yeah, it's going to plummet.
I do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm doing that now. Doing that during the show. I mean, that's kind of what I do during the shows. I log into the game and I don't actively do something that takes a lot of mental focus, but farming or fishing doesn't. Just run around, big. Then I walk away with, by the time the show's done, I go, oh wow, I have 300 bars, 400 planks of wood, you know. I'm like, well, there we go. I'm set. All right.
Stop
Let's.
taking all the damn fishing holes, and I might be able to walk away with something at the end of this show too.
Well, you know, if you fish with me, if you fish with people, you actually have a higher chance of getting rare stuff when more persons fish.
Good. Well, I'm here now.
I mean, the nodes get filled up faster, but you do get a higher chance of rare fish when you have multiple people fishing. That's why there's actually fishing guilds. I was fishing in Cyrodiil the other day. It's kind of an off story, but I got a message from someone going, I see you like fishing. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of messing around with it. And they're like, well, we have a fishing guild where this is all we do. I'm like,
There's a bloody
Really?
guild for everything, isn't there?
really? But their whole and it's neat that they have this. I'm actually, and Asteldian, you know, you and I, we talk about this like with the old school MMOs. That fishing guild though is something that would have happened in real life. Like the fishermen get together and go, okay, we're all going to sell our fish for this much. And it became a guild. That's where the guild system actually came out during Europe and all of the craftsmen got together and went, let's all get together and then kind of set a minimum price so we get screwed. But when people like to fish, if you're after those rare items, being in a guild where people, you know, you can actively go into chat going, hey, I'm going fishing. Where are people fishing? If I did that in any of my other guilds, no one would answer. Because it's like, I don't know, I do it during the show like you do. You know? Not actively doing that as active game. I actually add them to my friends list because I'm like, well, I'm kind of full of guilds now, but if I ever decide to go after those fishing achievements, I'll be sure to look you up.
Why not? PvE guild, PvP guild, trade guild, and a fishing guild. And a
Fishing
roleplay
guild.
guild. You can have it
Could
all.
you imagine that? That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Would be.
I got to admit, the last time I fished was probably back in my EverQuest days, and that's because you had to wait half an hour for a boat to turn up so you could actually get from somewhere to somewhere else. You sit there and fish with no other choice.
I remember
I've not
that
actually done it
in
in game. I've not done it in games since.
Final Fantasy XI had that too, because the boat from Juneau to Bastock took 30 minutes. And that's if you were on the ride. Oh, I just got a blue fish. Right.
Nice.
Done.
Yeah, I got a glasshead barrel eye, which I
Nice.
think
What I
Avi,
got. Yeah.
awesome. They still sell for money too. But the nice thing about fishing in this game is because of the Sigic Ambrosias, they actually, fishing is worth a little bit if you get one. Because I got one perfect row the last time I was here, and sold, you know, that allowed me to make one recipe, which gave me 4 vials. Each one sold for 5K. I made 20K from the other night. That worked out pretty well for me. Okay, we're still on game news, not off topicness. Let's talk about something that's a little negative. I am going to say this, and this is actually not from us so much as in the community as a whole. There was a lot of negativity, so let's talk about that. This week, there was extended downtime spread over probably 2 days, probably in preparation for Orsinium, is what I'm guessing, is what the maintenance was for. But it was several hours. And when I say several hours, I'm talking upwards of like 40 plus each day.
Crazy.
Let's first talk to Nate about it, and then I'll talk to Avi. 'Cause both of you were affected by this more than I was, because the maintenance on at least the US started in the evening and then went to the early afternoon, so I didn't really get affected. By the time I got home, servers were back up. But Nate, I know that was
Yeah.
a different story for you.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and it started in the UK, I think about 8 a.m., 8 or 9 a.m., and then went through until about 9, 10 p.m., which was just ridiculous. So it kind of meant that you couldn't do anything for the entire day. And I was keeping my eye on Twitter, at TESO Online, and the anger, the rage, the fury, the sheer hatred on that feed during those hours was ridiculous.
It was quite funny.
I can tell you Reddit and the official forums were no better.
It brought out the worst in humanity.
Hashtag first world gamer problems.
Yeah.
Oh man, so true. So true.
It's kind of weird. See, I feel like they did both data centers at the same time.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Which maybe didn't suck for the US side. At least the 9 to 5ers, it didn't suck as much. I feel bad for like the first and second shift people. Probably got hit hard. But the
Or
9
us,
to 5
or us that lost our day off.
Yeah, Avi. Yeah, let's talk about you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I had to call in that day because I was sick, and I even posted on Twitter. I was like, you know what? The only cure is a day in ESO, and then the next day, I don't get to play any ESO. Simple as that. I was very disappointed. It's very disappointing. I'm sure I know they had reason, but it was a big inconvenience.
Now,
And a lot more time than they said it was going to be. And then they expanded the times, and it went even farther beyond that time that they said. And it was like, all right, just let us know when it's back on.
I know even on Reddit, people were going, "When's it going back up? When's it going back up?" And I remember seeing one post going, "Okay, guys, you might as well just go to bed. It's looking like another 6 hours."
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah. Now,
I know it's frustrating, but eventually you just got to say, you know what? Just deal with it. Leave it alone. Go watch TV for the night. Accept it's gone.
hey, you and I both work in the technology fields, and I mean,
We do.
I felt bad for these guys because I know how these maintenances can go.
So do I, but I also know that it's a lot better if you do them overnight when no one needs them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
doing it in the day
true.
is the thing I had a problem with. Like I wasn't angry that it took forever because I've been there, and I've been on the other side of the fence where we've had sites down and I have people complaining at me thinking, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? The problem wasn't so much the length of time, and I think their communications could have been better. Like their comms was pretty bad. I think the technical term is piss poor at best. It was
Yeah.
really bad. There was no tweeting going on. And I think this was really just bad coincidental timing, but Bethesda, the Beth store, put out a tweet about how there was new Elder Scrolls Online gear available for now in the store. And I just thought, guys, do you not talk to each other? Because you've got all of these people sitting on Twitter telling you how much they hate you for ruining their game, and basically saying, by the way, while we can't give you a game that you've paid for, why not go and give us more money? I was like, oh,
That's a marketing nightmare.
it was unfortunate.
Another funny thing they did is while it was all down, they posted one of their 100 reasons to play, and everyone was like, "Well, we can't even play."
Yeah, it was.
This reason doesn't.
It was
even
really
make
bad.
sense.
But the thing is, I mean, so they needed to have done better with communication. They needed to be tweeting, every half an hour, saying, we're sorry this is taking a long time, giving some updates, putting some human faces against it, like post a tweet from the data center, like do something. And then there's been no follow-up. I filed because I wanted to see what the customer support was like. I just filed a bug request and saying what compensation do we get? Like, not because I particularly want any or feel I'm entitled to it as such, but I wanted to see what the response is. And the weird thing is, I haven't even had a reply yet. I've had nothing, which for the support desk at Elder Scrolls is really weird. So I'm not after anything free. I think they should give out some free crowns or something like that. I don't care, but I was curious to see how they would handle that on the customer support level. And for me, it seemed like they've basically ignored the fact that it was unplayable for 2 straight days during,
Essentially
daytime
prime
hours.
time for you guys, yeah.
Yeah, like if it had started at 3 a.m. and it had gone on until 3 p.m., you would have annoyed a lot fewer people.
Which it did for the US side, which is why it didn't affect me. It affected people who took off or were in the morning, but it didn't touch me at all because I don't get home till 5 o'clock or so.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, some people work night shifts, and not everyone considers those prime hours. And in terms of the number of people on the servers in the day, it probably is lower than certain other times. But I think they could have picked it better. And if they couldn't have avoided the timing, they could certainly have done better with just saying, look, we're really sorry about this. And, here are some just apologies or some acknowledgements.
I think I might have missed this, but if I missed it, for somebody who follows your game, and this is for your guys, and trust me, like, I get yelled at for this all the time because it doesn't matter how much notice you give people when they want to get into a system and you're working on it, it's never enough time for them. Okay, so I understand that you're kind of dealing with that, but I follow your game very closely. I didn't see any or something, but you really should have came out, especially with something like this, because you knew it would take a few hours. It should have been posted a couple times over a few days. Like, we should have already known about it like the Wednesday before, going, hey guys, Monday's going to be an extended maintenance, okay? So be prepared to maybe not play. And then at least it would have looked at it and go, oh, they're doing extended maintenance. This could be longer than an hour. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but you know what's really weird about this whole thing? I don't know who said it. Someone said this on Twitter. Like, if the game was a car that needed this much maintenance this often, you would send it to scrap.
Aww.
And I thought that's a bit harsh, but I get their point. It does seem it seems so regular, and that last week it was very bad timing, and it's probably prepping for Orsinium and things, but. I don't know what's improved. It took 12 hours, and I'm not entirely sure what they did.
See, now, and I will talk on that. World of Warcraft, I still go back to these. They do rolling restarts every Tuesday. Like, they have maintenance Tuesdays every Tuesday. Like, they don't even care. So every week maintenance, like, I do feel like that statement may be a little unfair because of other games do this. And it's actually a good thing to do. Reboot your servers once in a while.
Yeah, totally. Of course it is. It's like anything. But the key thing to all of this is it doesn't matter. You can do this. Do it every week. Totally fine. Do it in the day. Totally fine. Take 12 hours. Probably not totally fine. But maybe once every now and again. The key thing is just communications. They just failed on the comms, in my opinion.
Well, probably, like you said, we don't really know what us as technical. Like, we have a technical background, so we kind of know the prep work it goes, especially when you're doing a major update. But the common populace, the common gamer, doesn't know this. It would have been nice that if they would have at least did a summary, and I know they probably can't do a lot of that because of proprietary information reasons. Yeah. But they could have at least went, okay, guys, the reason why this maintenance went so long is because it was here to address these issues, to prep the servers for this, and this. And
but even that won't be enough for some people, because they could say, okay, we're doing this to reduce the insane lag in Cyrodiil. Mm-hmm. You would just get people saying, I don't care about Cyrodiil. I only play PvE. So, why do I care about this? All they needed to do is acknowledge it, because what it looked like is hundreds of tweets an hour telling people how much they hated them for the game being offline. And they were saying nothing, like nothing at all. And I think if they'd have said something like, for every half hour the game is offline, we're going to give you 50 crowns to every player when you log in, then that's it. All they need to do is tweet out saying, we're really sorry about this, but that's now 100 crowns you'll get. We're really sorry. I guarantee it would have diffused that problem just immediately. Within an hour, it would have been completely diffused, and people would have been like, okay, fair enough.
They'd probably be like, keep it down a little longer, right?
Yeah, like, I want to buy that new gear coming with the inevitable Crown Store update next week. Stay offline all day. I don't care.
Yeah, I do agree. Not so much for the U.S. I'm sorry, guys, but our time was actually with it what I would say would have been valid time. And I'm not saying, because I like free stuff too, but I do feel bad. The fact they had to service the EU mega server at the same time did negatively affect probably the majority of their players. The U.S. had a few people who probably, and I don't want to give some hate to the people work other shifts. I'm sorry about that, but statistically speaking, there are less people on the servers at that time. Ours fell within what I would consider normal maintenance. Now, I do agree with maybe doing that crown idea for every half hour after their stated time. If they said it's going to take 12 hours, that's fine. But if it goes over that, then there can be some compensation. I don't think someone needs to have 50 crowns every half hour for a 12-hour maintenance. If
Just thinking, like, the way that these things happen in the background is that, like, they will have been acknowledging this and talking about this because all of their community managers, everyone looking at Twitter, all this, they'll be having conversations, email around going, what the hell do we do? What on earth do we do? Like, saying this, they're saying this. They'll have people from the top getting complaints from the people who have, like, pardon me, emailed Todd Howard and all this kind of stuff. And they'll be having these conversations between officers. Like,
yeah.
They will have, I'm pretty sure, actively decided not to say anything because, like, they will have had to have talked about it. And I'll tell you, I would imagine it's highly likely that they will have had a drop off in subscriptions, and they'll be looking at those figures, and somebody will be getting their ass kicked for whatever it is for the game being offline that long. And I think that's a real shame, but hopefully it's just it was a necessary evil. Next time maybe they can handle the comms a bit better. And hopefully the game will be better as a result.
I agree. Communication does help. It really does.
Please make my game brilliant. Please fix lags in Cyrodiil. And please give me all the stuff that I'm going to tell you that I think we should have in the discussion section.
Just please improve the load screens. That'll do.
Oh my God. Please improve the load screens.
Those load screens.
How those load screens ever got out with this length of time is beyond me, because I've seen babies like grow in human bodies and be born in the time it takes for some Cyrodiil screens to load.
And learn to speak.
My son's already standing between my load screen.
Exactly.
On the bright side of long load screens, you won't miss anything from your child growing up.
This is true. This is
Plenty of
true.
time to watch it all.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about something a little bit more exciting, because the maintenance that we're assuming was because guess what, guys? You'll be able to download this episode. You're probably listening to it right now, and the servers are offline again. But this time for Orsinium. Right, the PC side is getting Orsinium Monday, November 2nd.
Yeah, both servers as well, isn't it? It's not even.
Yeah. It's both EU and US. Consoles are getting it. I think it's next week after for. No, it's. Why am I drawing a blank?
I'm not sure.
Someone should.
Consoles. Yeah, it's coming out one day earlier for, I think, Xbox.
Yeah, it's because they do Tuesday maintenance for Xbox and Wednesday maintenance for PS4, but I think it's the following week.
Right, yeah, sounds about right.
Um,
Poor Avi, you're on consoles, aren't you?
Oh, he's
Negative.
See?
No,
Your PC?
Setsu.
I'm on
is the,
PC.
Oh,
Setsu.
sorry, of course, Setsu is on consoles, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Sorry.
We'll talk about that. We were killing dungeons like crazy.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. I do know this, but sometimes I get confused. You know, it's hard being human.
We're a growing network.
I forgive you, Nate. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All good.
I saw your
Xbox
tweets earlier
One
that you're
release-
enjoying the game so much more
Yes,
recently,
I am.
and I was like, oh, yay.
Yeah,
I
mostly
think-
because I'm healing now, so it's gave me a whole new look on the game and grouping.
healing and grouping.
Actually,
Yep.
yeah, I'm enjoying
playing
the
with
game
people.
because Avi's enjoying the game more. Because guess what? Hey, Avi, let's run a dungeon. I'll heal it, and Ark's there going, I'll tank it. I'm like, well, that's perfect because that's what we need.
Yeah. The last 2 dungeons we ran, we didn't even get another DPS.
We got one tank, one healer, one DPS. Forget it.
Yeah, they're
Very
overrated.
nice.
We don't need
We
it
did
anymore.
fine. We did fine.
3 of us
Very
were like,
nice.
we can take this. We got this.
Who was that jerk?
I have no idea.
Runs up and starts hitting us.
I actually didn't know if it was somebody else, but I'm like, who would that have been? Because the only person who does that to me is you, and you're standing right next to me. We had a random person.
Or Ark
come
when
up.
he throws a bucket of water on you and runs away.
Right. All right. So Orsinium coming out. what are we looking forward to doing first? And so let's just kind of go around and talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and start with Avi.
Oh man. I was so excited for the Maelstrom Arena, but now that I'm doing all this healing, I'm more excited for the dungeons that are already in the game. But really, it's Maelstrom Arena and the story. I'm excited to see how the new story is going to progress, how much better and more detailed it's going to be than their original zones and simple stuff like that. Kind of like with Craglorn. You go into Craglorn and you can just feel the difference. You can feel the improvement with the story, with the structure, with everything about it. So that's mostly what I'm excited about, just to see how much more better they're getting with the stuff they're adding.
Excellent. Next up, Nate. What about you, sir?
Well, I've always been interested in the fact that I find orcs boring, and I don't think that they are. So I'm looking forward to finding out why orcs aren't boring.
Other pig children.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I agree with the comment about the zones. I think, when you look at Craglorn, when you look at Imperial City as well, how that's been designed and laid out, the dungeon design is, they've always been really good, I think, with dungeons and delves. But you can definitely tell that the more recent ones have had a lot more. There's a lot less copy pasting going on, it feels, in some of the more recent releases. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing applied to his zone as a whole. And I suppose just generally getting more excited about more PvE content, just in general. I just feel like the reason I've got so into the PvP stuff recently has been because I don't want to say I'm bored with the PvE. I just feel like some of the other aspects are more enjoyable to me at the moment. And so I'm kind of looking forward to just getting that PvE excitement back with some new content.
Well, that's the best part about MMOs, right? The ability to have multiple different things and go, I'm kind of tired of this, but I'll go do this.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's, I know right now I'm just loving PvP. And I mean right now, both figuratively and literally, because I'm in Cyrodiil as we speak. And I'm loving it. I find the challenge interesting. I find the way that the teamwork is essential in Cyrodiil. And I realize that I'm getting good at it by noticing when I see that other people are being stupid and I want to tell them off. So that's been quite interesting.
Nice. I actually do want to play off what you guys were saying about the zones. Not because it's one of my favorite things, but I'm curious to see both, one, the phasing, how it's been improved, because they have said that the phasing has been improved and that it's easier to play with your friends. Thank goodness, because we all know that the current phasing is terrible. It's just very hard to play with a friend who is trying to do the quest and stuff like that, especially if you go above and beyond. Second, Nate, I think you hit the nail right on the head with your statement about how the delves and stuff have less copy paste. But in a development side of view, if you think about it, a lot of that is because when they were developing the game, they had on their project list, you need to develop 30 new delves. Okay. So, yeah. But when they do these expansions, it's like, here's the delve you're working on. This is the only one. So it's a little, you're not looking at your list and go, oh, wow, I have 29 more to go. Let's just hurry up and get this one done.
On that note, they were working on this game for 7 years.
Well, yeah.
So it's not like they didn't have time to do a few extra delves ideas, but I know what you mean. It was a lot to get done all at the same time, and they probably had a whole bunch of standards that, every delve has to hit certain standards. Even if the standard is that they have to have something new in them, they still have a design philosophy, a design language for all of these things. So
well, they went back and remember they were doing that for the first couple updates where they went and they were enlarging the delves in the different zones. Remember that?
Oh yeah, they did. That's right. That was ages ago. Yeah.
Every update they went and did another set of zones.
It's because they actually were so small. Like in retrospect, they were really quite little.
Yeah.
They were tiny. Is it sad though that the game with me getting with my ult got onto those new ones and I don't like this at all. It's taking me longer to find where the boss is for me to run to, kill and leave. It's like that weird, terrible instinct, real beautiful, improved delve. But I was so used to just being able to run in, grab a sky shard, kill a boss, and leave very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, how inconvenient! I've got to actually search this place.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
What's really fascinating, and off of this, is I'm watching Avi dig through his fish, and
Did you see that?
every time he gets a special glow, I look over at his camera. He gets a big smile on his face because I know he just got a perfect row.
I got 2 of them.
I've
Yes.
never got a perfect row. I collected all the fragments for for the Sigic Ambrosia, and I've got all the purples. I've got hundreds of Frost Miriam and everything else, and I've never got a perfect row. Admittedly, I haven't fished super hard, but hard enough to feel like I should have got at least one by now.
You know
So
what you should do?
Go
Join
on.
a fishing guild.
Going to fishing
Hey,
guild.
I just
Can you
got my
imagine?
first 2 ever, so
You have
Today?
the recipe, Avi?
no, I'm sending them to you to make me some.
All right, I'll make them for you. Then I'll send them back, and then you won't have to buy scrolls. You'll be able to use them.
Yes.
Keynote: get your fishing up on your carrot or your cooking up, and get the trait for the extended drinks, so they last
Yeah,
longer.
Extended drinks and multiple outlets per whatever it is, multiple items per crafting attempt or something.
Well, yeah, that's what I have, and I'll be making them for him. But if he's gonna drink them, he wants
Yeah,
that
I
extended
get
drink.
that.
So
Connoisseur or something in it.
yeah, because if he doesn't, then they only last 30 minutes. If they do, they last like an hour and a half or however long. So you got essentially 3 hours worth of experience potions
Yeah.
from 2. And
Yeah.
I make, and that's from just a single one, as I should say. And I make 4 at a shot. So right now you'll get 8 potions.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't even remember what we were talking about before. I'm sorry. I'm so happy right now.
It looks like this is going to be our new show hobby, huh? Fishing?
Oh yeah.
Fishing guilds.
Fishing.
Yeah.
You're going to be like,
Hey,
Scales of Tamriel.
scales of Tamriel. I'm going to get a message. What was the name of that person for that fishing guild?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you will definitely.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and move into our discussion topic for this week. We did kind of talk. Actually, no, we didn't finish everyone yet. I am sorry. Asteldian or Sinium.
Yeah, finally, I'll look forward to actually finally getting my Templar to VR16 because he's.
You keep
still
talking
over
about
50.
that because I have streams.
All right,
Roll.
I'll keep going about that. Yeah, no, finally get around to getting my Templar to VR16 maybe because he's been sitting retired on 15 for quite a while now. And I look forward to doing the actual quest line throughout, enjoying the story of Orsinium with myself and the wife, so that we'll get both our characters to VR16.
And will
maybe-
your mum be playing as well? Because I thought that was the best thing I've ever heard. That the 3 of you play raids together.
Oh, my mother as well.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah,
fun to hear about.
yeah. It's, well, yeah, I got to admit, it's just me and the wife adventuring, but I've done a few things with the public dungeons with my mother as well.
I wish my mum would play Elder Scrolls. That would make me so happy.
But yeah, so we'll be doing that, get ourselves to VR16, and hopefully get some nodes and actually make VR16 gear, because that would be nice. I'm still wearing my VR14 stuff. Other than that, that's probably the main thing about Orsinium, just getting through to max level, doing the quest line through it. Always enjoy seeing the quest for the first time round. That's probably all I'm really interested in. I might do the arena sometimes while we're on the podcast, but
Yeah,
Nice.
I might do that too.
otherwise I don't see myself being on it much. It's not really my kind of thing.
Yeah, you're more group focused rather than solo.
Yeah, well, yes, even the questing. I mean, the questing's a bit easy with 2 of you, but at least we can do it. The idea of sort of going, right, I'll go do my Maelstrom Arena. The wife can do her Maelstrom Arena, and we'll just sit there and solo away for hours on end. No, I don't think so. So on the podcast, maybe, but otherwise, I'll be leaving that place alone.
Nice. I'm most excited about farming for VR16 gear. 'Cause I'm still wearing VR14 myself, with a few exceptions. Before I knew about the nodes, I was making some VR16. I was just skipping VR. It's like, yeah, I'll save. Why waste it? So I have like 2 VR16 pieces. I'm excited to do Maelstrom Arena because of the content it is. I am not excited about the rewards just because my current set requires me to have something else. So the Maelstrom weapon is, at least for right now, isn't rated very high. Now that may change, but for right now, it's not really best in slot for anybody that I know of, for any build or anything like that. So not in a great hurry to get it. Where before I kind of was, because in VR14, the master weapon actually would have been fairly good for my build. Because I could have went like two shoulders, 5 hundings, 3 jewelry, and then a master weapon. But that's not really the case going forward. Now it might, because maybe I'll go with 2 set Molig Kenna, 5 hundings, and then agility necklaces and stuff like that, and then go master. I don't know, but the fact that it affects the charge, which I don't actually have on my bar anyway, and it doesn't affect it so far, at least math wise, that makes it go, oh wow, this is actually a skill you want to put on your bar now. It's not that big of a deal to me. Now,
They nerfed it, didn't they? Originally, it was like 11,000 something extra damage, and then they changed it.
might have. Like, even if they nerfed it, they probably nerfed it for PvP reasons, because PvPers will go, oh yeah. But I'm mostly a PvPer, and other than the occasional gap closer, there's not really a need to do it. It's not. At least as far as I can tell. That may change. So if I get it, great. Now, if they ever do one for like Executioner, which would be probably be the next one in line, if they're doing it the third one, that'll be Executioner on the two-hander. Oh, I will most definitely be getting that, because pretty much anything you do to improve Executioner is going to be amazing. Executioner is like the best execute out there. I guess the Radiant Oppression is really good too if you're Magicka, but it's really hard to beat Executioner as a melee. Stamina, damage, just hits like a truck. Absolutely hits like a truck. So yeah, that's kind of it for what I'm excited for. I mean, other than the story, of course, which, to be honest, I don't think I'm even going to actively do the story. Because I'd like to do it with my wife, and we still haven't even done all of Silver yet. So it could be a while till I actually do the story. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, one thing actually I forgot to mention I am excited about. It's not quite with Orsinium, but obviously they're bringing out that whole multi-faction thing for looking for group.
Oh, now that is true.
So that's cool going forward. But obviously, I assume they're eventually going to expand that to being able to make your own group up and then go and do a dungeon. So I do look forward to finally being able to do a dungeon with Nate sometime in the future with his.
Yay! Because you're a dirty DC, aren't you?
DC, yep.
You so guys sound so bad as the AD guys. I swear to God, the AD, what's it called? Basically, they're just on giant LT charging trains, just running around farming EP out
the Zerg?
AP out of EP.
Oh, the Zerg.
Just the crazy Zergs. But they honestly, I don't quite know how they do it, because they look like a swarm of wasps running around, and they've been really frustrating me this week. So yeah. I'm glad it's not Dirty DC.
Yeah. I did forget about that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that will definitely help me with the farming, which also will help because I need lots of helms and stuff, and trying to get the proper trade is always difficult. But it will also help to get the mercenary style, which only comes out of the Undaunted chest. So
yes.
I'm hoping everyone has been saving their keys. I know I did a PSA last week, and I think I did a PSA announcement in our guild message telling people, save your keys, because when you open up those chests, there's a chance to get the motif pages for mercenary. So
that's right.
I still have my measly 10 keys from before Imperial came out.
Oh, really? You're still holding them?
Yeah, well, I'm not VR16, am I?
Oh, that's true. True. Very true. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move right into our discussion topic, which is guild banks and traders, current state, and how we think we could improve them. So this was actually a subject brought to us by Nate. So yay, Nate.
Yeah,
Um,
that was me.
that was you. Let's first talk about, I guess, the guild traders and banks. And Nate, since this was sort of your idea, I'm kind of curious to hear some of your thoughts off the top of your head.
Sure. The idea behind the guild stores, I think, are really good in general, and I think they have a decent implementation for some people presently. But there are a bunch of problems that even plugins and add-ons and things can't fix. One of them is search, which has been really problematic, I think. It's you know, if you're a member of 3 trading guilds, which I am at the moment, then you can't search them all for an item you want. You can't search by item type, which is a real, I mean, it's difficult to sort of put into words maybe what I'm thinking the problem is, but unless you're actively in one particular trade group in one guild store, then it's difficult to sort of see where out of all the stores the things you're looking for might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are you using any add-ons for that?
I've used a couple in the past, but they weren't kept updated very clearly.
Awesome Guild Store. Look for that. That'll help with the search. Now, I love Awesome Guild Store for what it is, but it really should be native in the game. You should download Awesome Guild Store and try it out and look at it. Allows you to search independently for like type of item. You can even look at jewelry and go, okay, I want it only with an arcane trait, only with this, and it will search it. And
I couldn't imagine using the guild trader without the awesome guild store. It would just drive me mad.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. I got to get that.
I'm actually that's how I am. If I don't have it, like if I get on another computer that doesn't have it, I don't even search guild stores because the sheer clunkiness of the current guild store is that way. It's just like really Awesome Guild Store, Zos, is like a perfect thing that you want to look at implementing naturally. Like, I really think it should be part of the game.
It's embarrassing it's not part of it already, and a game this modern does not have... I mean, I don't know if they've changed it since, because I've had Awesome Guild Store since God knows how long, but every time you went to a new guild trader, it reset the whole bloody search originally.
Yeah.
And what's that about? Is that still happening? It's just ridiculous. It's like,
At least with the Awesome Guild Store, it doesn't reset your search
entirely. Yep. So if you're looking for a ring, you just go from person to person to person to person. You can't have a guild trader set up like they've done in this game, rather than a general auction house, and not have the capability of making the search as convenient as possible when you go from each individual guy. It's just ridiculous what it's set up with now. So Awesome Guild Store is.
All I have to do is hit the search button. Each time I talk to a person, talk to him, hit search, and it keeps all the stuff. Like if I was searching for a keyword, like I was doing earlier for the last episode when we were talking about the Magicka build, and you're like, "Well, get rings of the healer. They're cheap." I literally typed in healer, went ring, blah blah blah, and just ran around and just started searching that way. 'Cause I couldn't imagine doing it really.
So slow. I did it once when it was bugged out after IC, I think, came out. So obviously the first few days your add-ons usually broken, so I couldn't use that one. And no buying for me for a few days because it's just not worth the hassle.
I really would cry if Awesome Guild Store ever just stopped updating and no one ever picked it up, because it really, Zos, you really should pick it up. Because
it even does the when you talk to a guild trader, normally you have to sort of click on the first option or whatever. So you talk to the guild trader, then you have to click yes, I want to look at your guild store or whatever. It's even got it now where it automatically does that process for you. So as soon as you click on the trader, it immediately goes through that screen, does like E for you or whatever, and immediately takes you straight into the trade window.
Yeah, it does.
Like such a tiny little convenience, but when you've gone through, if you're going from like 10 different traders, that one little process is really annoying.
I will say it is a pain in the butt though if you're trying to bid on the trader, if you're one of the people trying to do it, because it kicks you in right away. You're like, oh! So you pretty much have to like position your mouse directly over top of where it says bid on trader and then click really quick. No, that should definitely be something that's just innately part, especially with how you have your system. See, I don't see. I'm torn on this. I would almost prefer, and I know it would actually pretty much kill the market, but it kind of already has its own set value for a lot of stuff. Would be a type of global auction house, but it worked closer to Guild Wars 2, where you don't see individual listings so much as you see buy and sell offers that get posted on a general board. Now, the problem with that is, and I know a lot of our guild people, that would kill off a lot of guilds, because a lot of guilds that are specifically for buying and selling of guild traders, it really does, that's what they do. And it would kill off their entire market. But I would almost say the guild traders should just become traders where you can walk up to any trader and throw items on there and you could place buy or sell orders. And you throw it up there and then it does it on like a first come first serve basis where it goes, okay, I'm putting mine up for a gold, and everyone else goes, okay, you'll see 100 sell orders for 1 gold. People are going, okay, I'll match you and do 1 gold. And then you'll see buy orders going, well, I'll buy, someone's going, I want 100 Hemmings, I will pay 20 gold a piece, versus the buy orders were going, I'm selling, Hemmings for 25, and the people can either wait for someone to go, I just want my money instantly, because that's what Guild Wars 2 does. They literally make you put the deposit down. So if you wanted 100 Hemmings at 20 gold, it would make you put, 2,000 gold down. It would take it out of your thing and hold it there until it was sold. And that was a way of instantly getting it, or trying to do a sell order, which you could mark your own price and then hope someone goes, I just want the item instantly, I'm not willing to wait.
I'd love buy orders. That'd be great. I'd actually probably bother selling stuff at that point, because I'd have a look, go, oh, someone wants this stuff, here you go. Because like I said, with the traders, I don't sell because I can't be asked to put things on if they're not worth 10 or so thousand gold, because I can't bother to put them on there, hope it sells rather than getting sent back to me in 30 days time. Whereas if I could just look and someone saying, I want to buy this, yeah, it's not probably as much as I could make out of it if I actually went and sold it on a trader, but I'd take the instant thing. Hell, I sell the crap to the merchant otherwise. So
could you imagine could you imagine if it worked the other way around though as well? This is some of the ideas that I've had around this is, if it's a want to buy list. So if you say, okay, look, I want to buy like 100 cooters and here's what I'm prepared to pay, why not allow that as a listing and allow you to go and fulfill it? It might help people who get stuff and don't know what it is, and they have it stashed in their bank to go and have a look and see what they've got and sell it.
Well, that's exactly how Guild Wars 2 does it.
Yeah,
yeah, that's exactly it. You can have buy and sell orders. Like, I can literally go up there and go, I know how much a Kuta's worth. So I'll go up and go saying, I'm selling 100 Kutas for 4K a piece. And I can throw them up there, and they go up on an auction board, and they go out of my inventory. The item goes out of my inventory into a database. Someone could literally go with a buy order going, I want to buy 100 Kutas. I'm willing to pay 3.8K. And that money goes out of their wallet and onto the board. And if I'm sitting there going, okay, I've been trying to sell these, they haven't sold, forget it. Oh, I'll take the 200 cut and I'll accept this, guys. And you could do it in quantities. You didn't have to have 100. You literally go, okay, I'll sell my 2 to this guy, and the board would go, okay, well, at 3.8K, this is how much money you would get, and it just sucks it out and sends him the 2 kutas from you, and you get the money.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a wonderful system.
Great.
I will say this, however. This was a problem Guild Wars 2 had early on, and it's not so much of an issue now, but it was early on. And the problem with the global auction house with the buy-sell order is people undercutting to the point where I was seeing certain items that you got a lot of, so think Void Steel, was selling for less than what you could vendor it for. Like, people just didn't pay attention and going, okay, a vendor will go, I'll give you 10 gold per, and people were throwing it up for 8 gold per thing. So you were actually putting it up on the market because people weren't paying attention to what it was worth less than what it would be if you just sold it to a merchant. And that happens when you have a global auction house, because people can see what everyone's asking and everyone just wants to undercut. So common items, you would start getting the point where common items would not be worth anything and you would just trash them, which, people tend to do now with like the green upgrade materials anyway, because they're so common. I mean, who's going to put them up for 25 gold when you can get them almost anywhere? Or TAs. Like, who's going to buy TAs ever? And that's what would happen to TAs. TAs would literally go probably on the market because everyone would just throw them up on the market board going, I don't want to hold them. Maybe someone will buy them. And they'll throw them up and people will keep going, okay, I'm going to do it for less and less until they're not worth what you could sell them on a vendor for. Just trash vendor. And that is a problem with the global auction house issues, especially when everyone can see the prices. Right now, people will sell things and going, oh, on this guild store for 500,000 gold. Whereas other guild stores are selling them for 1,000,000 gold, or someone's going, I have no idea what it is, and I put it up for 10K. Because they don't know, and they didn't search the guild stores to find out what the average price is.
Yeah. Isn't that happen already though? Like people just undercut and undercut. So you just see guild stores with just an increasingly large list of prices, just all going up to from the acceptable to the ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
you do, but I find that the guild stores tend to keep within reason because I guess maybe it's because they're part of a guild, so they don't ridiculously undercut. Because quite often a proper trade guild are probably quite cohesive in what they're going to sell things at, saying this is the kind of price you put these things at, don't go below whatever. So they've probably got some quite annoying, because you can tell by the fact that things by now in theory things should be so dirt cheap that you should be able to pick things up, whereas I'm guessing the agility rings and stuff probably still cost a small fortune, whereas even things like that would drop quite rapidly. And on certainly in previous games I've seen with a global auction house, because someone has it, if it costs 120,000, people tend to cut by like $5,000 a pop, and then once you start getting low and low, it becomes the silly thing where you do one gold less, another gold less, another gold less, and it keeps changing like that. But it seems, I guess maybe it's because you've got a limited population of 500 people per guild trader anyway, so there's only the 500 putting things on, so the chance of them all having the same thing, of course, minimizes it, so you might only have 30 people selling the same stuff.
Well, here's one thing about the guild traders that I will say. There is actually like a confederation of guilds that actually all work together. And they have standard prices. I've been in guilds where I would put something up and I'd get a mail from somebody in the guild going, hey, we noticed you put an item up for this amount. As a guild, we are saying the minimum price for this is this much. Can you please change? Like, and it's normally more than what I'm asking for, but like one of the guilds was enchanters were literally selling purple enchants, and they said we're not going below 1,500, and I put it up for like 1,250 or something like that, and someone's like, listen, all of us enchanters in the guild made a pact. We're not 1,500 is our minimum price. That way we don't undercut each other like crazy, and essentially drive the market down. And there's whole guilds, like there's guilds. There is a guild that I've got invited to several times that is essentially a guild of nothing but guild masters of other guilds who are trade guilds, so that they can work together to find out.
It's a cartel.
It is. It actually is cool. A cartel and they go together to find out how much, they work together to try to figure out, so everyone gets a guild spot, and they find out they're actively telling people, okay, I'm going after this guild store, so the other people in the group won't do it, so they all can have guild stores. But the thing is, and they do set minimum prices. Why do you think the price for or not but the legendary items have been hovering in the 3.5 to 4K since launch? Because these guilds got together and said, listen, this is the cost we're deeming this, and they tend to buy up the low stuff and resell it for this, and now all the markets are showing it at 3.5 to 4K, except for when new DLC launches, then they go up around 5K because people are upgrading gear, right? But that's what they're doing. These guilds are getting together and essentially have a cartel of, this is what we're doing and this is how much we want to see stuff go for.
It's kind of genius, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's really genius. Damn Illuminati.
So it's kind of annoying, though. I think the other thing that I wanted to suggest talking about was sort of the next stage for guild traders, for the guys you bid on and have outside, because it feels to me like they're a missed opportunity. They could be doing a lot more, a lot better. You should be able to find them. There should be a database of them somewhere. They should be there should be another incentive to be using them other than just making money. They should be a service, and they're meant to be a service. And I don't think that. I don't know. I tend to just look at the zones and see which guild traders are closest to a way shrine that have more than one or two guild traders there, and travel to it on the off chance that someone's selling, a kuta without knowing what it is for like 300 gold or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, see, here's the idea, and I'm gonna mention this. The guild traders are a wonderful idea for immersion. Okay, let me finish my whole thought here. For immersion, like one of my favorite animes, Sword Art Online, where they like were stuck in the world, like it made it feel like you're there. Like you wouldn't. There are well, other than in this internet age, there's really not a. Before you would go around to the different merchants, you would tackle your wares, and you would try to find the best price by shopping around. In this super modern internet age, everyone just goes, oh, everything is just right here. This is the average price. And modern MMOs go with that. That's the global auction house. People just know how much stuff is. So you can't get that deal of someone not knowing what they have. But at the same time, modern gamers don't like that immersion. They want it to be quick. They would rather have the global auction house. How many times when they first announced these did people go, can't we just have a global auction house?
Yeah.
And smaller guilds do have the issue of, are they even able to get a guild store because of these cartels out there that control the major cities and a lot of the smaller ones? Like, if you're not part of this cartel guild, you're probably not going to get a guild trader. It's just
then it makes it pretty much impossible to sell anything. And that's the one thing I don't like about this game is that I can't sell my stuff unless I'm part of a guild store that's active and has a nice place, unless I want to do it through zone chat.
Yeah.
You see, that's an issue. Like Nick was saying about the random traders around the place. I mean, the fact that there's a trader in the middle of nowhere isn't the problem. It's the fact that it's just one single trader. I look at my map. I do the same thing. I see where's some traders nearby. If it's just one guy, I'm not going to bother going through an ESO load zone, loading screen for God knows how long for the sake of one bloody trader. But I don't give a crap where the place is. If there's 5 traders there, I'll go there. So it can be in the middle of nowhere. If there's a bunch of traders there, I will go and do them. But having one random guy stuck here and one random guy stuck there, it's just really pointless.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if they actually grouped them up, suddenly they'd be, because at the moment people say, oh yeah, they've got the place in Reaper's March, you've got Stormhaven maybe, and you've got the Craglawn. Well, there's loads of places in the game. It's just they happen to be conveniently with a decent number of merchants all quite close to each other. So the simple solution is to have even more merchants all over the place, and then suddenly everyone can afford it. It's not nearly as expensive because there's so many traders around to grab. And you can make a home saying, hey, come over here because there's 6 different traders all in this place of nowhereness. And, you almost make it a new place.
Here's an idea that I thought about. Personally, I like the guild traders, but the modern gamers would much rather have the global auction house with the buy-sell orders. I wouldn't mind that because I think as a gamer, people would sell easily if you could just go to a board, throw it up, and go. Now, I like the way it is, so let's just say they're not willing to completely scrap guild trade, okay? Here's my idea. All the guild traders have a local board you can go to, and all the boards are interconnected, and you can just literally search every guild store out there, no matter its location, from the board. However, if you buy it from the board, it adds a certain fee to it, like for the buyer.
Okay.
So by going to the bar, it's a 10% fee on the board, or you could go try to find it on one of the traders. Now they probably
kind of like a courier service. They'll bring it to you and bring it back.
EverQuest 2 did like that. People would set up their market boards in their house, and if you had a global place you could look, and if you decided to buy it instantly from where you were standing, you paid a hefty tax, 10 or 20% more. But if you want to go into the local place and find it, you could do that.
And that would be great. If they did that, that would be awesome. Some people would go, I'm willing to pay the 10% convenience fee just to buy it from the board. But some people would go, okay, no, I know that there is an item out here, you know, a Kuta rune that's being sold for so much less, or or a ring of agility that's, you know, 500,000 gold. I'm not willing to pay 10% on that. I'll go find it. You know, that would be a way of, I think that would be a perfect way of making the traders more viable so that you didn't have
Yeah.
to search. It would be a local board that interconnects all of them, and you can search everything from that board, but to buy from that board had a convenience.
Well, if that's too global, I'd at least want it to be literally like per zone. So a board would let you see all the traders within that zone. So if you want to go to Penumbra, you could go to this board in town or whatever and see what everyone's selling
I'm
in that zone.
I'm almost
And
fine
then,
if it was by faction instead of by. What they should have is one for each faction, because you got to think about it. Other than a handful of zones, they only have, like, Mournhold has the big four or big six or whatever in Mournhold, and then there's like two that are just randomly placed in the zone. Now that's a bigger zone. But is it worth putting one board in each location, or would it just be cooler to do? Here's Ebonheart Pact, here's a Daggerfall Covenant, here's an Aldmari Dominion board, and then you could have a neutral board for the zones like Orsinium.
I don't think it should be cross faction because I don't like the idea of selling to the enemy.
Well, they're already cross faction.
Yeah, they're already cross faction.
If I buy,
Are they
if-
really?
if
I didn't know that.
Yep.
you
If
just ruined Nate's game, you have.
if an EP if an
Immersion
EP or an AD guild went into their gold zone of Ebonheart Pact and bought a trader in Windhelm, you would see that guild in your zone. All the things are connected.
Oh, I feel
See-
so dirty.
see,
I
I-
may have bought
I
a
can't-
Kuta rune from an AD.
You could have, yeah.
See, I kind of like the idea of there being boards throughout like cities and stuff. So like if you're in a Wayrest and you go to the board and you buy like a Kunta from a trader all the way in Morrowind, then you're gonna have to pay a little more travels gold or a little more extra gold for the longer expense.
You know,
I think
that's neat.
Something like that would be a little more immersive, you know. So it's like, oh, it's just down the street in Alacare, and I'm in Stormhaven or whatever it's called. So it's going to be pretty cheap to get this. I'll just buy this right here, even though it's a little more gold than the one all the way in Alacare.
I do like that. That would be kind of neat if it. But what they should do is they shouldn't in the zone to make it more immersive, because if you go from a way shrine, it just teleports you free of cost. So it's really not much of an effort to go out. What they should do is they should literally just tell you like the zone it's in. Like it won't say the exact thing. Like if it's in Mournhold, it'll go, "Oh, this person who's selling the Kuta rune cheap. It's in Mournhold, or not in Mournhold. It's in Deshawn." And then you go, "Oh, am I willing to pay the 10% tax, or am I going to search all 10 merchants in the zone?"
Yep. I like this idea. I'm all about this.
Because you don't want to make it so inconvenient, or so convenient that it's like, well, the merchant board's right here. I'll just run over to the Way Shrine, not incur any fee, not even a travel fee, and just go find it. Or am I willing to search through 10, 15 stores to find it? Like you've got to balance the work versus the convenience. Giving the exact merchant name on the board isn't enough to go, "Oh, I'm willing to accept the 10% regardless of cost," because it's like they told me exactly where it's at. I'll just port, you know. And if I'm at a Way Shrine using a port, then it's essentially free, right? Like it's just free, so you're not wasting anything. It's not a choice at that point, unless you're super late. Okay. I'm kind of let's just ask this one question yet about that, because that's how I would like to see them improve. But let's just ask this: which would you prefer? You prefer the global auction house like Guild Wars 2 with the buy sell orders, or would you rather them just add a board for convenience? Which would you prefer? Let's just go around and just see what everyone's thoughts are. Let's start with Nate.
I like the idea of being able to see more things for sale. So I suppose, yes, that would be a preferable way of doing things.
The board are the buy sell orders.
Oh, the board or the buy sell. Oh god, can't I have both?
Well, the problem with the buy sell is the whole idea of it being a global auction house with it would be if they would do away with the guild traders, and then it would be open to everybody without having to be in any guild.
That's what I like. That's what I want. I don't want to be in a guild to sell my stuff, and I like the idea of there being a bunch of boards and stuff where I can go and easier, more convenient way to get what I need and search for what I need.
Yeah, so I guess the real option is, do they improve the guild traders by adding a global search board that requires you to either pay a fee for to buy it immediately, or you go out and buy it, or they scrap the guild traders and put a global auction house in that people can do buy and sell orders, but then it's open to everyone regardless of them being in a guild. Those are the choices.
I think I'd like to buy the listing option, to be honest. Yeah, because I want to be able to say, look, I've got this weird random old item, and I'm happy to sell it to you. I guess I think I'd rather have that.
It makes buying and selling more convenient, but it does have here's the problem with the buy sell orders. There is none of that random someone going up there and going, "Oh, I sold a Kuta rune for 100 gold." Because they would literally pull up the board and go, "Okay, let's search Kuta." Oh, people are putting the average buy order is for 3,800 gold. The average sell order is for 4.5k. Now, like, they could see that. Whereas now with the guild store, you join a guild store, go, if you don't have the add-on, you go, I don't know, I'm just going to throw it up there. There's less chance of finding a deal, but prices are more standardized and it's open to everybody. I think that's how I would prefer it, to get rid of the guild traders, because while I like them for the immersion that they provide, they do have issues, especially with the cap of players, that not everyone sells, like, because they can't be bothered to be part of a trade guild, which is just a faceless corporation. They would rather just be able to buy and sell. So I think people would get more use out of the buy sell if they scrap the guilds. That's what I'm. Even with a board that allowed you to search every guild trader in the game from one location, still doesn't do anything for the people who aren't part of those guilds who own. I mean, if they're wanting to sell, not buying. Buying, people who are willing to buy, it helps immensely, but people who are wanting to sell, it doesn't. Whereas the second issue, or the second one, helps people who want to buy and sell, but it does hurt the seller a little more because the prices are pretty much constant and you can't overcharge or undercharge. Well, I guess you could if you really want to put a buy order up for 1 gold, but then it would be gone, and then it would go back to average again. Avi, you already said you would prefer the open board. Asteldian,
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I'm biased, but I'd probably go with the being able to list your things you want to buy or things you want to sell, because, well, I'm not in any trade guilds because I can't be bothered to fanny around with that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I think I appreciate what they've done with the guilds traders, and I can see their charm. And I hate to say this because I feel a bit dirty leaning towards the whole convenience factor, because that's the plague of the modern gamer. And I know it's pretty bad, but yeah, it is more convenient, and it opens up to those who don't have guilds that trade or doesn't want to be part of it. Hell, if you made it and you don't need to be in a guild anymore for selling, frankly, I'd rather lose the whole 5 guild thing as well, because I've never liked the idea of multiple guilds. There's no loyalty there at all. It's just a bit casual.
See again. Right. Well, I know we've talked about it on our other podcasts, but the thing is, Elder Scrolls Online is a modern MMO.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about the charm of it. Yeah, and I love the charm too, because it does remind me of those older things and the immersion. But the problem is, this game is a modern MMO. It's not designed from the ground up to be that way. And I think you would retain more players by adding in those conveniences. Because the thing is, the whole game is designed about the modern gamer more than the old school guy who's willing to. Even raids are done in 10 minutes now versus the hours it used to take in older ones, versus now.
Oh yeah, it's more the fact that I don't like global auction houses, not just because of the convenience, but because of the fact it does tend to destroy an economy. Because
Yeah.
it does make things so easy. I mean, if you remember when this game came out, there was the whole duping issue, and people were concerned that the economy was going to be devastated. And the reality is, thanks to the fact that it isn't a global setting, it didn't really touch the economy because with it all being pockets of sellers rather than one giant global house, no one knew that it was only the people who actually abused it and had their abundance of extra rare items or whatever might have been selling things a bit lower or not. But no, it's so isolated that other guilds had no idea, so they were selling at normal price. And unless someone jumped from guild to trade to guild trade to find it, it kind of went unnoticed that there were some items that were a dime a dozen, which should have been worth thousands. So the duping had low impact thanks to not being a global auction house. So there were some benefits to it being how it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, there are definite benefits. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and let's move into our final section. If anyone has any thoughts on that before we move on to our tales, anyone have anything closing thoughts on the discussion?
Nope.
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 All right, let's start with tales and let's find out what we've been doing this week. And oh my goodness! So Nate, why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure thing. Well, over the last month, I have been dedicating a lot of time to PvP. I mentioned earlier that I've done some pretty high scoring, not high enough to be Emperor or anything near close to that, but high enough to at least appear pretty competent on leaderboards, which for me has been kind of eye-opening experience because when you start PvP and you don't know what you're doing necessarily, everyone's just kind of running around killing each other and you have no idea what's going on. And I don't think the game does a particularly good job at easing you in. It's kind of, go and do this, but it's not really helping you sort of find groups and learn tactics, anything like that. So for me, it's been quite interesting learning the tactics of playing Cyrodiil and actually starting leading some raids and feeling reasonably competent at leading small scale battles. So I've mostly been doing that. I still haven't finished Cadwell's Gold because I'm determined to have some brand new PvE left over to do. I never like feeling I have no PvE left.
Well, now you got Orsinium coming.
Yeah, well, Orsinium's, yeah, definitely. And Orsinium, I'm actually going to be in Dublin speaking at a conference about podcasts and machine intelligence the day that Orsinium will be available for me to play. So I'm going to have to be playing some of that in my hotel room. But it's really nice to have some new PvE on the horizon. But for the last month, it's been all about PvP, I think, for me.
That's awesome. See, I like the Imperial City for what it is. It provided a type of PvP that was I liked it because honestly my preferred PvP style is actually open world PvP with consequences. Like Ultima Online. Like you could kill anyone anywhere, but you got a murderer status. Like there were reasons not to do it. Like you could, but there were reasons not to do it. Like in this game, it would be kind of like the guards attacking you. If you became a murderer, you would be essentially locked out of going into a city for hours. Like they would just be like, nope, guards will instantly attack you for hours.
See, the reason I think I love it is for a long time, and I mean months of playing ESO, I never went into PvP. Like I went in when it encourages you to join, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. I am getting back to my Argonians. Off I go. But I have to say, I also didn't really fully appreciate how group-based it is. And there is a very, very, very big difference between being in Cyrodiil on your own, being in a group and not following the orders of your leader, and being in a good group that's well-led and everyone's following the leader. Because when you're running properly with that latter example, the entire nature of what PvP in this game is completely changes and is incredibly fun. But I had no idea that's what the PvP in this game was like. I would actually like to have more Cyrodiil type PvP in the game, but with slightly different types of objectives, because the objectives in Imperial City, even when they're PvP, it's basically kill a bunch of dudes. And in Cyrodiil, it's kill a bunch of dudes and capture keeps. You know, it's basically capture the flag with a bunch of deathmatch stuff in the middle. So I would love to see kind of like a PvP arena, maybe with some very small forts in where you can have a siege weapon in there or something. I don't know. I'm just
Like the battlegrounds.
yeah, basically. Yeah. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that. Like, could you imagine that? Like, it's basically Zerg versus Zerg, but since that seems to be what a lot of people in Cyrodiil are doing anyway, at least stick some rules in there and make something fun out of it.
I've been thinking about this way back when we talked about battlegrounds, and I'm in favor of 'em if they do it in one way. Okay, and Nate, you'll be with me on lore. I don't want to see an instance battleground of Cyrodiil where I have to queue up to be in it, right? Because I want to be able to visit those towns and those places without having to queue up into a battleground to do it. I would love for them to do battlegrounds and arenas in the Oblivion, because then you can make them whichever way you want. The realms are fluid; they can change. You know, you could literally make a instance arena or battleground that you're fighting over a Daedric relic or whatever against other are, and it wouldn't take away from the world of exploring for PvP, because Ashenvale, for instance, in World of Warcraft, one of their arenas was literally a capture the flag, so you had one side Night Elf, one side Orc, and it was always the same every single time as I spray. And the world just doesn't work like that. The way it's designed, the only way battlegrounds work for the hardcore PvPers and stuff is if they are balanced on both sides. So you can't have how much hate was there over Altric Valley because the Alliance had an advantage because of how the map was set up. They tried to do something that made it look more real worldy. Well, everyone knew that the Alliance had because of the path they had, the way the mountains were shaped, that they just had a natural upper hand, and people hated it. Like, no one wanted to play the map because of it. And they went back to the standard, you know, it's perfectly a 10 by 10 square on this side and a 10 by 10 on this side. And that's what people want. But because of how much I love the world, I wouldn't want them to take, like, Anvil and make it that way. Like, make Anvil a giant square, like, kind of like what they did with Cyrodiil with the perfect triangle. Because they did, but they cut off part of the world to kind of make it fair. But they didn't include all of it. I would rather them just use the Oblivion realms, because then you can make it whatever the heck you want it, and you could claim lore that it's just the way the Daedric masters formed it for whatever reason.
Oh, I love that idea. I love that idea. But you know what? I just had this really crazy flashback to the Xbox game Gears of War, where I think it was a DLC that came out for it, was where you could play as the enemy. I forget what they call the enemies in that game, but you could actually play as the alien enemies with all their skills. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if you could play as a Daedra and play as Molag Bal versus Vale and Aquarius?
That would be pretty neat. Would be pretty neat.
Totally stupid, but probably quite fun.
I mean, there's a lot of things they could do, but I really hope if they ever do release that they leave Cyrodiil the way it is. Because I like being able to explore Cyrodiil because it's Cyrodiil. I don't want you to make a perfect battleground that's evenly spaced at the risk of breaking the lore and how the town actually was formed before. You know what I mean? At least the Oblivion realms, you can make it whatever the heck you want, because they even say that the realms are ever changing. So feel free to make whatever perfectly balanced battleground you want, and then we're happy day.
Yeah, I guess so. This is an interesting discussion born out of what I've done with my life for the last month. I think I've just hit the 32 days played on Misa.
Oh, I got to do played now.
Yeah, see what he just says.
44 days, 21 hours.
Yeah, Misa, 32 days, 6 hours.
I'll go add all my alts up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got one alt I've played for about, I think, 7 days. It may be 8 days. It's the one I played with my brother.
This girl's 4 days that I'm playing right now.
Well,
VR11.
I will say, Avi, I think we fished all the fish out of this lake.
I can't find
Like,
it
I think
anymore,
we
man.
drove all the fish to extinction.
Can't
I
find
just
it
want a
anymore.
perfect row. Somebody on the EU server, please send me a perfect row.
I was gonna say, if you were on NA, I'd send you one of mine.
Oh,
But you're not. You just passed one, Aggelos.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. It must have just popped up. All right. Was that all for your tales for this week?
yes, that's my entire tale, so to speak, for this week.
Excellent. Okay. Asteldian, have you been playing, or are you still a hiatus?
Still somewhat of a hiatus. I was thinking of putting a few hours in, sort of ease my way back in, but I thought, well, the Orsinium coming next week, and obviously the catch-up mechanic coming in.
Yeah.
My DK having all of gold content to do, I thought, well, why do it now? I have to get 400,000 for a champ point, whereas if I just wait another week, it'll be changed, and I can just sort of reap the benefits from that while I quest too. So I decided to delay my return for a little while longer.
That makes sense. I've actually been thinking the same thing. I haven't been actively doing quests because I'm at that 400,000 for a champion point. The catch-up mechanic, I'll be looking at getting champion points very quickly because I'm only at 155 right now. So I will benefit pretty greatly from the catch-up mechanic. I've been saving all. Avi.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
my-
talk.
Let's talk. Well, my week's been a little different since there's no alt talk because I've only been playing one character, and I sort of call her my main now because I'm pretty much addicted to playing her. She's my
Aw.
Breton Templar. She's VR11. Her name's Estelle of the North. I've been working on getting all my weapons, like I said last time, to level 50. Now I only need two-handed and bow for her. I got level 10 in Fighter Skilled, and I'm working on level 10 in Mage Skilled. And I'm also working on my champion points, like you guys said, but I think I'm about 10 away from 300, so I'm up there.
Higher than
How
me.
do you know how many champion points you've got, other
You
than
just
adding
gotta
them all up?
you just gotta scroll over the little progression bar on the top left corner where it says your level.
Oh, didn't know
Yeah,
that.
and it says like you are rank something champion.
Huh.
Yeah,
That's
and
how
if
many
you-
points you have.
Yeah, and the
if
rank
you're
you are
max
is how
level,
many
I think it
points you
tells you as
have.
well. If you've got is it Wicked's toolbar or whatever? I think
I
if
have
you're max
Wicked's
level,
toolbar.
Oh,
yeah.
I
think-
yeah,
I think it might
I
tell you
turned
how
it
many
off.
points you got.
Oh yeah,
That's-
I've got 149.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I got
Ah.
about 282 or 285 now, something around there. I'm not sure.
Well, at least for you with the alts you play, so many of your alts are already veterans, so they all help. That's what I've been
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
do with mine.
All my characters are veteran except one, and
Yeah,
he's been set aside for now.
then everything you play is at least. See, I love that mechanic. The fact that once you're champion, that's what I've been trying to do with mine. And I'll jump in here quick with mine. Like I've been playing my Dragon Knight because I was just messing around with her on the other day. I don't even know why. But I actually realized, oh, I'm only like 4 quests away from finishing Shadowfen. Oh, I finished Shadowfen, and now I'm kind
Get
of
out
in
of there.
player. Yeah. But I don't like playing her because anytime that I spend on like I only have 2 characters that are veteran rank. My main, which is VR16, and my one alt that I got the VR2.
But you finally finished Shadowfen.
I know. Well, that means I might actually have a 3rd veteran rank character because I actually enjoy going through East March and the
East
Rift.
March.
I never get tired of those zones. I don't know. Just don't.
That's because
So-
you're a Nord.
I am a Nord, and
Yeah.
I
Full of
love
drunk
those
Nords.
It's because they're the only decent zones in EP.
zones.
True.
I really like Fall Creek. Really, I cannot wait to see Solitude. Like Solitude is like my favorite city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when they get there, yeah, they're gonna be the best part of the game. But
I can't wait for that. I can't
Solitude
wait
is
for that.
by far my favorite.
That's where I have the house with like 500 physics engine breaking cheese wheels stacked up.
yeah, I have my mead room in Solid in my Proud Spire manor or whatever it's
Yep.
called.
That's it, Proud
You
Spire.
you open the door and the mead just starts pouring on out.
That's great.
That's what my
Gotta
friend did with all of his dead wives.
I remember that story.
In-game
remember
dead
that.
wives, that is.
Dead wives.
By the way, why did you go with the mongrel race, the Breton?
Ooh.
Breton has easily become my favorite race in this game, and I think it's mostly since I tried to play for the Daggerfall Covenant. I don't know what it was. I think it really all started with watching the cinematic and seeing that badass Breton, the Nightblade dude, and I was just like, dude, that is me. I'm like, I want that to be my character so bad. So I still don't have a Breton Nightblade, but
Bretons make awesome healers too.
yeah, they're one of the best magic classes. I wanted to just go for something that was best of the best. I already have a VR16 Imperial Templar that I could have easily made a healer, but my state of mind was I'd rather have it a Breton. And I know this is kind of weird, but I always picture my healer to be a female, so I wanted a female tune.
You
It's
know,
not weird. It's just sexist.
it's actually not.
I don't want to say it's sexist.
It's not
just-
sexist, and I'm gonna say this. If you look at it from a psychology point of view, if you look at the numbers, more females play healers in games than males do, and I honestly think it's because of the maternal nurturing instinct that most females have. Like, it's just the way it goes. Most females have that not all, don't get mad at me here, but it is true. If you look at the numbers, most females have a more maternal or nurturing aspect than men do, and in MMOs they tend to play healers. I mean, Asteldian, what's your wife play?
Oh, I agree entirely. My wife's a healer.
My
mother
wife's
plays
a healer too. Yeah, she's like, I just can't do DPS. I don't know why. I don't like DPS because it just doesn't feel right to me. But I like healing everybody. That's that maternal mother instinct. Now, obviously, my wife is now a mom. No, but that's just how she's always been. She likes the support character. She likes the helping, and that's a generally a female characteristic. Just if you look at it from a psychology point of view. So while I may have offended a lot of the feminists, it is true though. If you look at the numbers, they don't lie.
And that's why I play a female healer.
It makes perfect sense. It really does.
But yeah, back to the question. That's why I chose Breton. It's simply because the magic. I like the magic, and the female healer. She's so pretty too. She's the best. She's the best.
She's so
I love her.
pretty.
So
She's probably
pretty.
part Aliad. Anyway.
Her name's Estella the North, and in my mind, she's a Nord. And like, she's also my character in Skyrim. I have Estella the North, but she's a Nord in Skyrim. So in my mind, she's a Nord, but technically, her passives say she's a Breton.
Yeah.
Hey,
well,
yesterday,
Bretons are half Nords anyway.
exactly. And
Yeah.
yesterday, Ark said yesterday that
we-
she does look a little Nord. So.
Do we have to argue that point, Nate? Because I tend to think that's not necessarily true. Because the Breton race, here we're going to get into lore. The Breton race was combination of the interbreeding between the Iliads, mostly of the Dreni Hegemony,
Yeah.
and the local Nedic people, which actually share a more common ancestry with the current day Imperials. The Nords being a subsect from Atmora. They were from a completely... The Needs were the inhabitants here on Tamriel. Nords are technically aliens, if you think about it in a geopolitical sense, that they immigrated from Atmora to Tamriel and Skyrim, whereas the Needs were the humans that were innately here, along with a few other subsets, such as the Kutheringi and Shadowfen. Not Shadowfen, Black Marsh as a whole.
I thought Bretons just kind of came from all male races, just kind of the borderline of the male and the human and elf race. Like if a human and elf, what's it called, kid went on long enough, even if it was a Nord, soon enough become a Breton.
True.
Could
They used to be
argue
called. They used to call them Manma. You know,
Yep, the man.
Manma.
I do
Yeah,
That's
remember.
what the
Manma,
Aldma used to
that's
call
right.
them. The Aldma. Sorry, the Aldma.
Yeah, because they do have. That's why from the racial point of view, why they are better with magic because of their elven heritage.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I guess so.
But see, I find the reason why I say it's hard for a Nord is because the Nords have such a hate of the knife ears, as I drop a racial slur for elves, that I even if they were slaves, I don't think they could ever be willing slaves. I mean, yeah, slaves generally aren't willing, but I mean, I can't imagine a Nord ever laying down with a Mer of any kind because of the racial hatred, at least as far back as when the Breton race first started, because this happened over generations of the men
You
Mer.
this is true. You say that, but I think that this is where it gets really interesting and sort of philosophical because like on the very big level, yes, like they never would. But on a micro level, on a small level, there would be Nords with Aliads. There would be all of this stuff that would be happening. Probably if it could happen, it probably did.
Well, you
Like
also gotta
there were
think
aliens helping slaves during the rebellion. Anyway,
not
Hold
even
on, hey, hold on. Let me just say the UESP says, although the origins of the Nedic people are hotly debatable, the most widely accepted theory is that they come from Atmora in many waves and are arriving in what is now known as Skyrim. So technically, that'd make them a little more towards the Nords, right?
that would, but like they said,
that was my belief. Yeah.
that very well could be, but the Nedic people, like, it doesn't explain the racial differences between, like, the Nords and the Needs that were here before, because the Needs were here long before, and the Elves were one of the first people here in Tamriel, except for the native inhabitants, which,
Just all original human races, not original, so not like the people who came from the original
yeah,
Hammerfell. I
Ada,
can't think of the name.
at Ada, the original Brits,
Yeah, or there's the over where the Ukudans and the Red Guard
Akavir.
come from.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and most other humans besides that place all came from Atmora, right?
Other than Kuthringi, I think, yeah. Some of the
I'm not
lesser
sure about.
known.
I'm not too sure about the Kothringi.
Well, you also got it when he was talking about the meta of whether or not the Nords would be with elves. You also got to take into the fact that you can't just take in the love factor. What about the rape factor? What about the war factor? Like when the Nords came to help Alessian the rebellion, it's a common known trait of medieval warfare that when a city was taken, the spoils were handed out, and one of the ways they paid the men was they were allowed to have their way with of the town of the captured town. So if they took over an alien city, it would not be uncommon for the Nordic men to assault the females, and there were bastard children sprung from such events in at least our history. I don't see how it wouldn't also affect theirs.
What I don't get about the Bretons is simply that why they say that if like a high elf and a Nord have a baby together, it's gonna come out to the mother. So how is there a mixed race? I mean, I'm sure there's.
They tend to favor the female traits, but over time, if you think about it, if you had a male elf mating with a female, we'll just say a need, whatever, it would take on the traits, at least physical traits, of the mother. So it would look more human, but it would still have some of the DNA from the elven male. Now, over
More towards like attitude and power and within strength. Like if it's a Nord, but the mom's a high elf, then that high elf might be a little more buffer and can probably handle the cold just a little better. But technically, he's still a high
because
elf.
you're getting traits from both parents. Now, of course, now we're talking genetics, and you have recessive versus dominant traits, which ones show up. But over time, of course, then you have that bastard offspring of these two different species, who then mates with maybe someone of their own race. I mean, this is very common of interracial in the real world interracial couples. If if a black and a white person copulate and they have a certain child, like let's just say a black and a white get together and then they have a white child, that white child could then breed with another white child and actually produce a black offspring because the traits from the one parent are still in the genetic code of that child. Wow, we just really went crazy with that.
I was gonna say this
Well,
just got deep.
Well, I mean, we're talking about what is true.
Weren't we?
It's true,
Man.
and I'm enjoying it.
It would be kind of odd though if you were the product of that union and you had a different color baby. Would you start looking at your spouse going, "Did you cheat
Yeah,
on
you
me?"
could. Yeah.
Especially if you
I guess
didn't
I'm
know.
not the daddy.
Yeah, especially if you didn't know about genetics and be like, "That's around? Like, is this not even my
No.
baby?" It's the same way. A black child could then go with another black and then have a white child as well. Like it's just interesting with genetics how that all works because the traits, the DNA that went into making that individual child are still in that child, and that's how the Bretons, at least from this point of view, have that higher magical resistance and magical use because of their elven forefathers who are hands down more adept with the arcane than the human races. But now the over time and the mixture of the bloodlines has caused this type of hybridization with Bretons to allow them to have those magical traces from their ancient Aliad or ancestry.
Wow.
That was our lore bit. It was.
I knew we were gonna have.
In other words,
I knew
they
we were
could
gonna
be
have
part
one.
Nord as well.
It could be.
And
much-
given that Nord traits are really crap, they're definitely not going to be the dominant trait, which explains why, despite being part Nord, the Breton gets all the decent traits.
That could be true.
Which is why my girl's a Breton.
Hey, it is.
Sorry,
Pretty much
sorry,
all we know
Norris.
for sure is that it's a mixture between the human races, the men and that make. We know
Yeah,
it's
the
more
need-
than
the needs and the Aliads are the main two kind of races they talk about when it comes to the making of the Nords.
or of the Bretons. Yeah.
Oh, the Bretons. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, the Bretons.
Yeah, but then we're getting into a whole other lore thing about who exactly were the needs. Where did they originate from? Why are they considered different from the Nords if they? Which I mean, there could have been a mixture of the native populaces as well, whether it's Thring or whatever other human race. I know there were a couple other human
Just like in
races.
Akavir, there's multiple races in Akavir. Just like this could have been a different branch of people from a whole different part of Atmora than where Ysgriborn and the 500 companions came from. I mean, who can actually say how big Atmora is? So
Yeah, I know it's apparently fairly large in scale, but
yeah, most
only-
of it's frozen. But I mean, we have races who live underground, like the Falmer, and so I mean, our races could live through pretty much anything.
so yeah, more tales.
Okay, yeah. The last part of my tales was actually involving you because I
Yeah.
healed my first two dungeons.
Yeah.
And didn't just heal them, we three-manned them both
We did.
to an extent. We
Yeah,
did.
I think only Imperial City. We did Imperial City. This was on normal because we wanted to do them for the story. So Arcaneer, Avi, and myself decided we're gonna get together. We're gonna do this. We have the tank. We have the heal. We tried finding DPS, but for some odd reason, no one wanted to come. It's like, yeah. But we went in for the story, so we were taking our time. Got tons of screenshots.
Tons of screenshots.
Tons of screenshots.
We saw the Ruby throne and we were like, all right, well, let's just kill these guys real fast so we can take some pictures.
I
And
think we spent 20 minutes taking screenshots. Okay, you
Oh,
sit in the
yeah.
throne. Okay, do idle too so we can stand next to the throne. Yeah.
it's my favorite part of the game right there, man. I mean, that's what I do in Skyrim. So, I mean, I'm all about that kind of stuff.
That was definitely a lot of fun. And we talked about it before. We both did them. Like I know you and I did the White Gold Tower before, but I know I was kind of doing it with the blinders on because I didn't. The people I went with Kilted. I can't remember who the other two people were. I think
Me.
one was it you? Yeah, it was you,
Yeah.
Kilted. But then we had someone from another.
One of Kilted's guilds.
Yeah,
She
and
came. He brought her over.
yeah, because we needed a healer. But I know we didn't want to do the story because as much as I think she's like, we don't. I don't mind. I don't mind. How long were we in Imperial City Prison, excluding the fact that I had home inspectors at my house, so I had to keep leaving?
We're in there forever a long time.
It
like
was a very
5 hours.
Yeah, now probably about an hour and a half of that or 2 hours of that was a home inspector. But even so, we were going at a very slow pace. We were poking our nose in every corner. We were reading every letter. We were having a good time with that. We wanted to see the story without just rushing through. So that first time we did it, I didn't want to do the quest because I didn't want to make this person wait on us. Because with Ark and you and me, we all went in with the mentality of this is what we're gonna do. We didn't care. Like when one of us finished reading a book, we were actually talking about the note we found about finally escaping. Remember, I pointed out, I'm like, did you guys read that letter? About I finally got enough rope
Oh,
and
I finally found a way out.
uh
Yeah.
huh
And then Aggelos goes, I read it and I don't really get it. And I'm like, oh, she found a way out of here? What the heck? And Aggelos goes, yeah, look up. And I look up and she's hanging from the ceiling and it's like, oh, she found a way out. All right.
she found a
Killed
way
herself.
out. And that was just. And Nate, you can probably appreciate that, like the amount of work with the subtle details, like this depressing note of I finally found a way out, and she's like, I've been scavenging extra towels and rope that I could find in parts, and I finally found my way out, and then you find her hanging because she didn't want to get tortured by the Daedra. Like,
Yeah, that kind of stuff really bugs me. I still remember one of the most harrowing times was when you found the cave with the woman who had the bandages around her eyes.
yeah,
Do you remember? It was in it
Oh,
was
where she got her eyes eaten out by the
Yeah.
hag raven.
the Hag Ravens. That was it.
Yeah.
And I
She
was just
sucked
like,
my eyeballs out.
I was
Yeah.
there just for a minute afterwards thinking, dude, dark, very dark.
well, that was
Very-
like one of Thais' favorite quest in Stone Falls with
Was
Bala.
that Stonefalls?
No, not that
No,
one.
not that quest.
Her
Oh, right.
favorite was the one with Bala, where you find this poor outlander who was in love with this Dunmary noble, and she's like, "Oh, I love him, but he died, and they won't tell me where he buried him, and I can't, I can't live without him." So you go and find him, and you find his spirit, and his wife is there too, and it was a joke between the two of them,
Oh, I remember that.
and you get the choice whether or not to tell her.
Oh,
And we were
I
like,
tell her.
well, we told her, but did you know if you go up to Ebonheart and walk along the river, you find her body? She jumped from the bridge and killed
Oh,
herself.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Oh no.
yeah. Like you actually, like she doesn't appear until you do that quest. But if you do that quest, you tell her like it was all a joke. They didn't really love you. She's like, no, I don't believe you, and she runs off. Go to Ebonheart, you find her body laying on the beach underneath one of the bridges. She took
they
her
have-
own life. And
They
you
have
would
great
never...
quests in this game. My God.
But see,
I
that's
found-
not
I
even
remember.
part. That's not even part of the quest. You would only find it by exploring. Go, wait, I know her. Wait, why is her body here?
Yeah, I
Like-
remember this one quest in a DC area where you find a red guard, and the red guard pretty much goes, "Oh, I need to get my wife. She's been captured by a Daedra or something." And you go and you save his wife, and you can like sacrifice him in place of his wife, and then you save his wife, and you take his wife out, and she has no memory of him or anything, and she's like, "What? I don't even know who you're talking about." And the guy just like sacrifices himself for the love of his life, and she doesn't even remember anything.
Is that
Like-
is that the one where you can choose to leave them both with the spider?
Yeah. You can just leave
I
them both
I
with
always
the
leave them
spider.
both. I always leave them both
I
together.
think Thais and I left them both too because they just wanted to be together. As much as it pained me to knowing that the spider Daedra was feeding off their essence, at least they would have been together. Like she's like,
I'll tell you, if you save the orc, she has no idea who that guy is when you bring her out. She's completely oblivious. She's like, and then you talk to her after completing the quest, and she's like, "That name sounds so familiar, but oh well, I can't place a hand on it."
oh, that is awful.
Yeah, it's, it's
Like
like,
Dave just
oh,
said, it sucks their life out of them, but it's a slow, peaceful death. They're enjoying themselves inside their imaginary place. It seemed like a good place to be. So
yeah,
I
so,
left them both there. But then again, I also thought crazy Mage Guild guy. I was like, oh yeah, she'll love to live with him in the crazy house. So
Oh
off you go.
yeah.
So maybe my idea of what's good and what's not isn't necessarily the best.
Yeah, well, for
eh,
that quest, I almost like to retcon my decision because I really wouldn't want to leave her with him, but I couldn't give up the skill point. I mean, I guess that's
oh,
really the
because
choice, but I
eh,
don't know.
if you give up your skill points to give to not give Shiogora that girl in the Mage's Guild, I'm sorry, you're dumb.
Yeah,
Give
crazy.
her away, send her away. You're never gonna hear from it again.
Like I
If
said,
it
she
was one
seemed
of those,
happy anyway.
oh yeah, she had to go with the butterflies.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was well excited about going. So
Um. Okay. Well, I
But yeah,
mean,
back to Tails. That was pretty much
yeah.
it. And after that, we also ran we ran White Gold Tower. Then we ran Imperial City Prisons. Prisons. We took it all the way to the last boss, just us three, and we couldn't take that boss. We had to pull in a fourth guy, and it went down really fast after we got the fourth guy. But we got close. We got pretty close. I think it was more a frustration than not being able to do it if we just stuck to it.
Hey
But
Nate, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm
Hey,
still here.
would you? I got your message. Would you like to do your little sign off now so people can do it and we'll finish the episode?
Yeah, I have sadly had to duck out. It's very late, and I have an extremely early start tomorrow morning. So I wanted to say, Dankeschön, arigato gozaimasu, thank you very much, whatever language you wish. And I will. I've had a good show. It's been a lot of fun. And
Absolutely.
if you're in EP on the EU server, then please do add me. I'm Lanxon 101, Lanxon 101. And yeah, hit me up in game for some, well, particularly right now, for some PvP fun.
You have a new Twitter too, right? If people
Oh
want to
yeah,
follow
I
you
actually don't know
there.
what that is. What is it? Is it Nate? I think it's Nate ESO. So
Yeah.
Nate. No, ESO Nate. Hang on. I literally just set this up like a day ago. I can't remember what it was.
And here I'm
What
trying
am
to
I?
help you out here, and we don't
I'm
even
trying to
Nate
look at
remember.
it
ESO.
too.
Yeah. So at NATEESO.
There you
And
go.
that's my Elder Scrolls specific one. And I really, because I have about like 11, 12,000 followers on my other account because it's kind of my work and journalist account that I use. So it's really hard to tweet about things like, man, who misses the ghost snake? And, tweeting about achievements for killing him. Argonians or whatever. I decided, you know what, now's the time to separate these two things out and allow me to go full ESO geek on one and, keep the other one slightly more, not professional, but, free of
as
ghost
long as you
snakes
don't
and,
muddle them up.
I think when he
well,
starts doing I erect the spine of on there, people be
Yeah.
going, what?
yeah, I'm yet to include that in any of my meetings with CEOs about German businesses. It's
Right.
very rarely have I erected anything in those meetings except my own,
Simon Falcon.
the lid of my MacBook.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. As always, you're fantastic to have on the show. We love having you here, and it was fun talking lore.
Yeah, well, I'm always up for talking lore. My time schedule these days have made it incredibly difficult to do regular podcasting. I do my own show text message, which anyone listening can check out if you're interested in technology in Europe. But being able to do regular podcasting outside of that and outside of work has been incredibly difficult. So having the opportunity to jump in and out every now and again on a show is always very nice to be able to do. So thank you.
Oh, we'll definitely try to grab you in as often as you want to come in. So
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and see you
thanks for coming, Nate.
next time.
yeah, thanks.
Cheers. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Doing that. All right. Let's see. Okay, we were talking about White Gold Tower. I just had to get Nate in there so that he could
Yeah, definitely.
could mention he had to leave.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying was that it was a Imperial City prison. We had to pull in a fourth guy to finish the last boss. The last boss was killing us. He was like I said, we could have got him if we gave it a couple more tries and we calmed down our frustration. But I was hungry, Ark was tired, and
Yeah.
we had to finish it up. But came back today this morning, bright and early for White Gold Tower. Cleared it just us three all the way, and yeah, it was really fun. Great
Yeah.
story.
It was such a good story. Oh my goodness. Now, I know I talked about this earlier. Which was your favorite?
Oh man, like I said before, the White Gold Tower is my favorite to explore because it's just funner to explore, and they have this amazing scene in it where the whole building roof blows up, and the whole idea of it's so much more funner and cooler sounding. But the bosses, the mechanics all around the Imperial City prison, way more fun. Felt felt like such more of a challenge in the Imperial City prison, but overall, I'll probably go with the White Gold Tower.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna see. I really like that final boss, the Lord Warden, was just insanity, and I loved every second of it. Maybe the fact that I had beaten Molag Cannon before might have went into it, and normal mode is easier,
Yeah.
but we actually had to pull in another DPS because we weren't able to get the shades down in time. And maybe that was my fault more than anything because I was the sole DPS. And Molag Kenna didn't have such a hard DPS, fight. Like there was nothing in there that required you to do a certain amount of DPS in a small amount of time. Unlike the Lord Warden, where if we always tended to die at the second set of shades
Yeah.
because they would start targeting. By that point, you were low in magicka. Like we had already been fighting for a while, so you were low in magicka. They would all start throwing their fire or spirit balls or whatever kind of balls hit us.
Those
Um,
spirit balls, as soon as Ark lost to aggro on one of them and those spirit balls started hitting you, it makes it impossible to get a res up.
mhm.
It's just like, if you don't have a self heal or something like that, you're going down pretty quick.
And even with the self heal, it was so hard to stay because they were hitting you for like 5-6 grand a piece, and when you
Yeah.
only have 20k and there's five of them throwing at you, you were pretty much like one shot because they all were like, "Oh, let's all target Avi." Oh, you got five of us hitting for 5k. That's 25k. You don't even have that much health.
No, that's not even good. Yeah, exactly.
It was definitely very rough. Definitely. But I just enjoyed that fight so much. I liked when he flew up in the air and did his big AoE, and you're like, we were shouting over TeamSpeak, hey, big AoE coming, everyone block. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was just really that
And
fight.
I love how he's kind of watching you throughout the dungeon. Like
Yeah,
if you look up, you'll see him just like sitting on a balcony, just like staring over like the second boss fight, just like watching, going okay. And then all of a sudden you walk up to him at the main boss and he's on the edge and you walk in, he jumps down and it's already it feels like a real boss fight. Like they
it
did really
does.
good.
It really does. It was really good, and I do like the white. I think the reason why I like the White Gold Tower was because of the aesthetics that it is the White Gold Tower, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The story was really good, but I just wasn't very fond of a lot of the fights. The trying to remember the first boss in White Gold Tower. I hear is pretty difficult on veteran because you have to do something with those lightning poles up at the top.
Hmm.
Can't remember what it is now, but there is something different. The first boss is essentially a giant harvester. She's nothing really, Jacob. The being thrown into a lock cage is interesting. That if you don't have Ledgermine skill to force lock, you actually have to lock pick it. Um, that's kind of interesting mechanic.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the flame atronach
the
that you
flame
gotta kind of you gotta push that button.
and deal with the elder sight. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was a fun one. The three dragon knights was just a general con. See, I've done a
That's a
lot of
fun one.
raiding. Well, it is a fun fight, but I've done a lot of raiding, and most council fights, which is what they're called, are essentially the same. Like you have a healer, you have a DPS, you have a tank, and in reality, it wasn't really a lot of mechanics that were hard. It's just you had to deal with three guys who had individual abilities. It was pretty difficult until we figured out let's just not focus on the healer and
Yeah, I
focus
was
on
gonna say, but most of the time, your main thought is, all right, let's take the healer down first, and that definitely wasn't the case for this fight. Leave the healer up all the way to the end.
yeah, like we were able to take out the tank first, which was surprising because
Yeah,
I guess the heals didn't heal as much as it.
and she
Well,
could be interrupted, so
yeah.
she starts healing, interrupt her, and that's gone for a bit.
Again, we're taking into account we were three manning this, and I am not the best DPS on the planet. A lot of it doing with my ping. It's hard for me to. Um,
And it was
so
my first time healing.
yeah,
It was,
but the thing is, she also puts that aura down that just heals her. So she constantly has those heals going, and we just weren't doing enough damage to her before the other guys just nuked us. Especially when they laid down 3 banners on top of each other.
definitely. Arc, which one's yours?
Yeah, Ark. I think Ark said his favorite was the White Gold Towers.
Yeah.
But I like the prison. The prison was longer. Oh my goodness, it was like a 20-minute walk with no bosses or anything. It's like we pulled the final DPS in on the final boss, and we pulled him in, and it's like, is he not here yet? Oh, he's in the dungeon. He's just
And then he way shrines it. I'm sorry.
Oh.
We were like, oh no.
yeah, no. Oh no, he way shrined. He didn't res, he way shrined when we wiped. Oh no. Yeah, and that was rough. But yeah, that was kind of my week as well. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that was
that's
a
all my
lot of
week.
fun. So much fun. And now that we have a healer with you, we got to start doing PSA.
Yeah, I need to get that title. I saw both of you guys with that Dragon Star Arena title, and my title still says volunteer, and I'm like, oh,
Well, we could probably get you the Dragon Star, at least the Dragon Star one. It's just normal. We could probably
Yeah.
three
oh yeah, that's the plan. Me and Ark are already talking about it.
that for you. All right, guys. That's about it for Tales. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Tell people where they can find us and all of that. I guess first off for the show, if you're interested in following us, you can follow us on dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. That's our website. You can find all of our podcasts, our guides, and all that fun stuff. The Dungeon Crawler webcomic, all of that is all over there on our website. If you want to support us, you can donate to us via our Patreon at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network, or there's a link on the website if you just rather do flat donate. None of this is required, of course. It all helps us out. You can help us out by just sharing us with your friends. That helps us out as well. You can follow our video podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, all those fun places. And you can find us on Twitter at Tales of. Definitely check. Guys, great show. I had a blast. Asteldian, go ahead and give your final thoughts and where people can find you.
Yeah, well, you can find me on Twitter, I guess, at Asteldian. You can find me in-game at Asteldian. Otherwise, obviously, you can contact via the Dungeon Crawler Network because, well, I'm there too. As for the show, yeah, it was nice to have Nate on again. I think the last time he was on, I might not have been on. So always fun to have another Brit around. And I do look forward to having a little peek at Orsinium. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to buy it with crowns because I don't actually have a sub anymore. But I've got 14,000 crowns sitting around. Hence why the sub stopped, because I'm kind of collecting these things for nothing at the moment. So I decided to save a bit of cash and maybe use up my crowns. And then, who knows, maybe ESO Plus again in the future.
All right, Avi.
Yeah, it's a really good episode. I'm looking forward to the future of myself in ESO now that I'm doing healing, and can't wait to get into Orsinium tomorrow. Wow.
As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at Aggelos, AGGELOS_WOF. Find me in game at Aggelos, spelled the same way, just without the WOF. I had a blast on the show. I liked our topics we talked about. The guild store, that was from Nate, so thank you, Nate, for bringing that along. And I would say I'm excited about Orsinium tomorrow, but I have not moved to my new house yet, so therefore my internet is still crap. So I will probably play it probably 3 days from now.
I was going to say you might move into a new house before you finish downloading in your old house, surely.
Maybe, yeah. That's a very good possibility. So, but otherwise, great show. I had a lot of fun talking about it. Everything we got to talk about. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Next week, again, as we wonderful evening this time.
Bye.